Welcome back everybody to the Ultimate Breakdown here on kenanK TV. In today's video, let us take a closer look at the main event for UFC 246 between the notorious Conor McGregor and Cowboy Donald Cerrone. I will be giving you guys the tale of the tape, my own personal fighter cards that I created, a full breakdown of the fight, and at the end I will be telling you guys who I think will win come fight night. So with that being said, let's jump right into the video. Starting off with the tale of the tape. The notorious Conor McGregor has a professional record of 21 wins with 4 losses. He is 31 years old, stands in at 5'9" tall, having a 74-inch reach. McGregor will be having a 1-inch reach advantage over Cowboy Donald Cerrone. Switching to Cowboy, he has 36 wins with 13 losses. He is 36 years old and is 6 foot even, with only 1 inch of his shoulder reach. However though, he has a 3-inch height advantage over Conor McGregor. These two are virtually identical in height and reach. Obviously Cerrone is a bit taller than Conor McGregor and Conor has just an inch longer of a reach, so virtually identical. So with that being said, let's move over to my own custom created fighter cards. Let's start with Conor McGregor, who has a 92 overall rating with 94 striking, 86 grappling, 91 stamina, 94 chin, 93 defense, and 90 physicality. From the bat, McGregor's standout attributes are striking and defense. Hands down, when it comes to the striking department, Conor McGregor is a very smart, calculated, very diverse, and very calm fighter, yet still being aggressive. He always knows how to come forward, knows how to manipulate the distance, knows how to get into the opponent's head and make them commit to a shot that they really shouldn't commit to. He's also very good with his feints, and he can always capitalize off of those feints. And right now, from all the training footage, Conor McGregor has been putting a lot more focus onto his hands and onto his boxing skills, so we'll see how he will look come fight night. Defensively speaking, I would have to say that Conor McGregor is one of the more defensively sound fighters out there. Whether it is his grappling defense or his head movement, footwork, everything in between, Conor McGregor is always very solid. He's a very hard guy to get a hold of, and he's definitely a very hard guy to hit. Other than the 1-2 that Diaz landed and the big overhand that Khabib landed, Conor has been virtually untouched in his entire UFC career. Additionally, I also believe that his takedown defense is very sound as well, so that's why I believe at 93 is perfect for him. Switching over to his opponent, Cowboy Donald Cerrone has an 89 overall rating, with 91 striking, 88 grappling, 93 stamina, 87 chin, 88 defense, and an 89 physicality attribute. Cerrone's standout attributes are striking and stamina. He's a very well balanced fighter. He can go 5 rounds all day long. He's very well paced, has great power in his hands, but especially in his kicks, and is also very smart at setting those kicks up. He's a veteran of the sport, has 50 fights, and he can go 5 rounds without a problem, and has never really had any stamina issues. So that's why I believe 91 for striking and 93 for stamina is perfect for him as well. But let's see how these stats fare up against one another. Let's switch over to the full breakdown of this fight. For the sake of clarity and just getting straight to the point and having a good overall view of everything that I'm going to talk about, let's break this part down in 3 main categories: stand-up, ground game, and stamina, endurance, and just the ability to just go all 5 rounds. Not necessarily stamina, but just the ability to take punishment and still be there as well. So let's start off with the stand-up department. Conor McGregor's pressure versus Cerrone's very sturdy, very calculated, sometimes slow, but yet very effective kicking game. How will it all play out? Taking a look at Conor McGregor's pressure, he's a very unique individual. He's not a fighter who's your typical come forward, I'm gonna walk you down type fighter. He's very methodical. He just walks forward very patiently with a... I don't know how he's going to fight this time around, but usually he always fought with a pretty wide karate stance, they would call, right? They would call it karate stance, but he just had a very long lead hand. With this type of a guard, he would just simply pop out the opponent's jab and take care of that jab. He would just have a good read on when his hand would twitch, he would either expect the jab to come or the opponent's right hand. So he always had a 1 step ahead indicator of when an attack would come at him. That is why, for example, Eddie Alvarez just got knocked down all over the place. He simply just always was locked in with Conor McGregor. Conor just always had his hand just taken away. Eddie had no jab. He had to rely on the right straight. And because Eddie's not a fast boxer, fast puncher, Conor McGregor saw him coming in virtually slow motion and was just always countering with ease. And right now, from all the training footage that we've seen from Conor, he has a very upright and closed guard. I don't know how well that type of a guard will work against Cerrone, but I would have to assume that he's going to be a lot more head movement orientated if he depends on that style to close the distance. In my opinion, the best way for him to still close the distance is with that type of a longer or wider guard, so that way he can take control of Cerrone's jab hand as well. But that is a big problem right now for Conor McGregor. Having an open guard against Cerrone is a very risky game. That is why I'm convinced that Conor McGregor's style is a bit more closed in, a little bit more boxed in, has a bit more of a traditional approach towards Cerrone. Because if Conor McGregor is going to approach this fight like he did against Eddie Alvarez, he's probably going to get clipped with one of those big head kicks and potentially knocked out. Because Conor McGregor is a fighter who is very good at countering single shots. For example, when he knocked out Jose Aldo, right? He just saw that one big shot coming, boom, he even knocked him out before he could land that shot. For example, against Nate Diaz, right? Nate would throw a jab, he would counter it immediately. Eddie Alvarez would throw a lead right hand, he would counter it immediately. So he was always countering immediately. And never really did you have an opponent who would fake the right hand and then bring up a head kick to catch the opponent. That setup has always been very unique to Cowboy Donald Cerrone. And out of all of Conor McGregor's opponents, the best kicker is, in my opinion, going to be Cerrone. Eddie Alvarez is not a big kicker. Jose Aldo not even a big kicker. Nate Diaz neither. Chad Mendes neither. So Cerrone is a very unique individual who is presenting a pretty big arsenal of medium to long range kicks. Nobody has ever had that against Conor McGregor. And what this brings for Cerrone's favor, and this is a very big favor, like you guys really need to understand how much of a game changer Cerrone's skills really are against Conor McGregor. Styles really make fights, and this is really a fight maker for Cerrone. Let's just say Conor McGregor is coming forward, very patient, right, like he always is, pounding out the distance, getting a good read onto his opponent. Cerrone sets up a fake right hand and then brings up the right leg kick. Boom. Let's just imagine that shot landing without Conor McGregor leaning into it. That is already a very big kick. Could knock out anybody. Now imagine Conor McGregor leaning into that shot. I believe Conor McGregor would probably get knocked out cold with that type of a shot. So for Conor McGregor, getting the distance or just taking away that jab of Cerrone is going to be that little bit more difficult. Because this time around, he's not safe in the medium to long range. He can't sit there and really just overextend the jab. He can't do that like he did against Eddie Alvarez. He has to really come forward, really stay moving, and give Cerrone different looks. Make him think. The more he thinks and the less he throws is the better for Conor McGregor. Because as soon as Conor McGregor can have Cerrone in a position where he's not that comfortable, let's just say behind the black line is when Donald Cerrone starts to feel a little bit more boxed in, a little bit more cramped in. That is where he will start to, let's just say, freeze up. He's kind of a Anthony Pettis in that way. If he gets backed up a little bit too much, and if he can't depend on his kicks, if he can't set up his kicks, he's kind of becoming a very timid fighter, very gun shy. And that's really the case with most kickers. Take a look at Anthony Pettis, Cerrone himself. Edson Barboza is that type of a fighter as well. These kickers really want to get that space again, and they will really kind of make big moves, big jumps, big steps to get back into that range. And if Conor McGregor can successfully press Cerrone right just behind that black line, then he can really start setting him up. Then Cerrone will have a little bit more of bigger reactions for Conor McGregor to capitalize. Because in the middle of the octagon or just slightly further away from it, Cerrone is a very dangerous fighter. And Conor McGregor is not going to have his way immediately from that range. It will be very difficult for him. And the reason why Conor won't have his success immediately is because Cerrone is a very varied kicker. Let's just say one of the best tools that, in my opinion, Cerrone can utilize is the outside leg kick. Not a lot of people feel comfortable throwing that kick, and not a lot of people can actually execute that kick with certain damage behind it as well. Most of the time, it's a very weak kick, but Cerrone, when he can step into that shot, he's very powerful. And he can always switch kick and just always get that outside leg kick going. And Conor McGregor, he has shown that he has a pretty sideways stance, right? And usually because of that, he has been very good at checking inside leg kicks. But like I said, if an opponent who can come at Conor McGregor and utilize outside leg kicks and just take away that side of the leg and just start picking at him and break that side of the leg down, he's going to have a lot more success. Because of that wide stance, just checking the inside leg kicks were just a lot more easier because virtually the knee was pointing inwards, so checking it became a lot more easier as well. So for Cerrone to have that outside leg kick in his arsenal, and if he can utilize it, Conor's going to have a very hard time pressing forward, because as soon as he comes forward and he gets met with that knee, Conor better hopes that he can make Cerrone smother that kick and just push him back immediately. And if Conor McGregor cannot do that, he is pretty much reset. And there are only so many leg kicks you can take before your leg starts to feel really damaged. So that was the kicking game of Conor McGregor's pressure. In my opinion, Conor McGregor will find his way to put pressure on Cerrone, but Cerrone is going to have so many tools up his sleeve as well, because Conor McGregor has said that he is willing to go a little bit more long. He just wants to get a little bit more minutes in that octagon, which means he's going to fight a little bit more calm, right? He's not going to go in there and try to just flatten out Cerrone, which would probably be the best way for him to fight Cerrone. But in my opinion, Conor is going to fight a little bit more timid, a little bit more conserved, and he will probably have his eyes a little bit more on a longer fight, which is not really the best way for him to fight in my opinion, but we'll see come fight night obviously. But that is just something that I believe will happen in terms of Conor's performance. Now the boxing game, Conor has been working on that very hard. In terms of the hands, Conor McGregor just hands down is the better fighter. To his, lead uppercut left hand, to his obviously good jabs, right hooks, but especially his counter lefts. His counter lefts are just very, very good. And right now, Cerrone is a fighter who is a kind of a very upright traditional Muay Thai type of a fighter. He's not going to be having the most fluid of punches, and he's a very short distance puncher. He doesn't really overextend his shoulder, he doesn't overextend his hips and fully extend the punch. He kind of always jumps in, he lunges into his right hand, and the right hand should really be a punch that Cerrone should not throw at all. If he even throws a right hand, I believe Conor is going to have a way more easier time at countering that punch than he did against Eddie Alvarez. It's just a very slow punch in my opinion. It comes at a way where that punch alone, just isolated, is not that great. It is always meant to be paired up with a head kick with Cerrone. It's not really a punch that is just a one-hitter quitter. So because of that reason, that is why I believe Cerrone throws it in the way that he does it. And if he does that against Conor McGregor, he's probably going to get knocked out 100%. If not knocked out, countered very convincingly. And Conor right now, with that new, let's just say, skills that he possesses, I think coming forward is not really going to be dependent on backing the opponent up immediately and then getting the big punch. I think he can get the big punch before the opponent's back is against the cage in this case. I think he has trained his lead hook very well. I think with his high guard, as soon as he can get close to Cerrone, I think body shots will be there as well. And Conor McGregor has tremendous body shots, not alone in his boxing, but also his teep kicks. He's very, very snappy with those kicks. He has a good side kick as well to the body, and also obviously teep kicks. So going to the body will definitely be one of the more important factors for Conor's victory. I don't think Conor is going to just come forward and immediately land the left hand and just flatten the opponent out. I don't see that happening at all. I think Cerrone is a very sturdy fighter, very hard to move. I mean, Darren Till, who is just a giant in that division obviously, and he had virtually a harder time at pressing Cerrone back immediately because Cerrone will stand his ground. He's a very hard fighter to back up. So Conor McGregor, whose entire game is built around having that opponent really close to the cage, I think he will have to put in a lot more work to the body early on to get that man in that position, because Cerrone will rather stand his ground and clinch up than back up. He's that type of a fighter, but as soon as he back him up, he will start to really feel boxed in, and that's when he starts to make these big maneuvers, right? And these maneuvers will get him countered. So right now, I believe Conor McGregor will have his way for probably the majority of the fight, but there are just these little setups, these little kicks to the leg, outside leg kicks, these setups that Cerrone can execute that can be very, very big game changers. And like I said, Cerrone, he's a very hard guy to move around, and he stands his ground, and if he can clinch you up, he will clinch you up. And especially in that clinch is where we can see very, very interesting things occur. Now, in that clinch, I believe Cerrone is a tremendous fighter at taking people down. And even before the fight gets to the clinch, Cerrone is a very good fighter at timing opponents' straight punch, ducking under it, and taking them down. He's very good at that. And nobody that Conor has faced could really do that other than Chad Mendes and Khabib. Khabib not so much as Chad, because Chad Mendes is a very explosive wrestler. Khabib is a very technical wrestler. He likes to really just firstly back you up against the cage, then shoot in, right? He's not a very explosive wrestler like Chad Mendes was. And for Cerrone, he's a very balanced fighter. He's a little bit of the two. He's very technical and he's explosive when he needs to be as well. And especially when it comes down to ducking those straight punches, leaning down, shooting in, and taking the opponent down. When he can do that, man, Conor McGregor is going to be a very, very worried fighter, because then he has to worry about not overextending on his right hand. Then he has to worry about not really throwing that right hand naked too much. And if he does it, Cerrone will be ready. Now, in the lead up of this fight, Cerrone said that he didn't want to shoot him for the takedown, but in that moment, I find it very hard to believe that instinctively, Cerrone won't just do it. Because it is a fight, right? As soon as your instincts kick in, you don't really think about the words that you said before the fight. You just want to do what is the best for you in that moment. Like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a game plan until they get hit. And for Cerrone, maybe it's going to take a couple left hands before he has to just, throw that no takedown rule out of the window. And if he can get Conor McGregor down, I think the best way for Cerrone to take Conor down really is that type of a takedown. He's not going to get a takedown just by shooting in from the middle of the octagon or just when Conor McGregor can see it coming. He has to shoot it as Conor McGregor is going in for the left hand. I think that is the best way and the best time for him to do it. And if he can catch Conor McGregor as he's overextending, perfectly timed takedowns will just get Conor down instantly. And when he can get him down, I think Conor McGregor will have a pretty hard time, in my opinion, of getting back up, but we'll see how he's going to do. I think Conor McGregor's grappling is very underrated, but I think Cerrone has a very, very good way of pinning his opponents down. He has really low hips and he has plenty of offensive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills as well to keep Conor McGregor busy. And I think as soon as he can get him down, Conor likes to explode. And if he can take care of one or two of those very big bursts of movement, bursts of energy, I think Conor McGregor can have a very, very hard time of recovering his stamina as well. So he has to really be careful. And I think the longer the fight goes and stays on the floor, the more it will favor Cerrone. I do believe Conor McGregor will probably get up early on in the fight if he gets taken down, but later down in the fight, let's just say in the 4th and 5th round, if he gets taken down again, I think the agility is going to be gone, so it's going to be pretty hard for him to get back up. And I think Cerrone will have a lot more ease of taking Conor McGregor's back, right? Because Conor McGregor is always looking to get back up and he's always very agile. And in those moments, he kind of tends to give up his back just to have that little burst and create some space to then move out of it and get back up, obviously. So we'll see how he's going to do against Cerrone. I think right now it is a very difficult fight. Just a lot more of a difficult fight than people expect. It is really, really surprising to me that people aren't seeing the challenge in Cerrone like I'm seeing. It's just a very odd fight that people seem to be looking over. But aside from that, in their opinion, in terms of stamina, Conor McGregor will be fine. He will be very fine. Against Nate Diaz, I mean, Nate is a fighter who can take so much damage, right? He can take so many left hands. And Conor McGregor, when he throws punches, he really throws in with a lot of power. He just looks to KO you. And against Nate Diaz in the first fight, he couldn't KO him, and that's why he gassed out in the second round. Against Nate Diaz the second time around, he was a lot more composed, but I mean, Nate, he just takes the punishment. He's just way too durable. He's just a very, very big tank. Cerrone is not like that. And Conor McGregor has learned his lessons against Mayweather and Diaz, right? And he has been a lot more patient and a lot more calculated since then. So if he doesn't get taken down, which he will most likely not get taken down, I don't believe this fight will really have many grappling exchanges, but when it does, it really should favor Cerrone, but I just doubt that there will be that many grappling exchanges. So assuming it's going to be a kickboxing fight, I believe Conor McGregor will have no problems of pacing himself, especially now that going into this fight, he said that he wants to have a lot more ring time. I think he will fight a lot more patiently. I don't think that he will load up on all of his shots, and because of that, I think that Conor McGregor will go 5 rounds if he can, right? I don't think that is going to be a problem. Yes, obviously he's not going to have the snap, the twitch as he does in the first round in the last round. Obviously, that's just natural. But for Conor McGregor, if he can go to the body and slow Cerrone down as well, I think it'll be a pretty evenly matched fight in terms of stamina at least. So now with all of that said, who do I think will win come fight night? I believe that this fight will end in a second round TKO for Donald Cowboy. I'm just kidding. Conor McGregor. I think Conor McGregor can probably get it done by the end of the second round. I think that early on in the fight, he will have plenty of body shots that he can land. Cerrone is a pretty open target. He doesn't really move his head all too much. And if Conor McGregor can get past that medium to long range immediately and pressure Cerrone, I think that as soon as he can get him backed up, that is where Conor McGregor can start landing his big bombs. And I think also, a body shot stoppage or a body shot TKO is not going to be a far-fetched idea either. So I think that is going to be one of the biggest aspects in this fight and one of the biggest keys in Conor McGregor's victory. I think going to the body is just a must for Conor McGregor. It's just open, it's there, and the head will just follow. Conor's a good headhunter anyway, so that shouldn't be a problem given the fact that Cerrone doesn't really move his head all too well either. So I believe Conor McGregor can land his big bombs at the end of the second round. I think early on in the fight he's going to get a big scare. I think he's probably going to get set up for one of those big high kicks, and when he does, I think he's going to be able to take it. I don't think he's going to be able to land a flush Cerrone on Conor. I think that it'll probably land on Conor, but I don't think he can do it too often. I think Conor will get a good read on him, and he will find the patterns, and he will just start to pick at Cerrone and break him down piece by piece. So I think at the end of the second round, we will see a Conor McGregor TKO. Cerrone is not going to get flattened out. I don't see it happening. He's just a he's just very sturdy, right? He's very sturdy on his feet. So I just don't see Conor McGregor just knocking Cerrone all over the octagon like he did against Eddie Alvarez. That's just what I think. Conor McGregor second round TKO. Probably starting off from a body shot. He will probably hurt him to the body, and then he will follow it up with a, I don't know, left hook, left hand to the chin. Maybe even a knee. Who knows? We'll just wait and see. But I believe that is where the fight will end, and that is my prediction. But what do you guys think? Leave it all in the comment section down below. As always, I have been Kenan from kenanK TV, signing off. Later.